thank you both for joining us. First of all, can you just each tell us a little bit about what you teach here and how long you've been at Marymount and what brought you here?
Hi, I'm Dr. Iyer, and I joined here technically in January of 2022, and I teach physics. I'm a biomedical engineer. I was trained as a mechanical engineer, and I've spent over a decade studying skeletal muscle, so how a body works, how does your muscle repair, but applying all of the knowledge of engineering and math and physics and also biology.
And I'm Eric Bubar. I've been here, this is my 11th year. I teach physics, astronomy, physical science, and starting to teach the engineering courses. All my training is in applied physics and astrophysics research, but I kind of have branched out all of that into doing a variety of projects involving bionics, prosthetics, orthotics, machine learning, artificial intelligence, robotics, all sorts of fun engineering kinds of projects.
Yeah, so this year we started degree paths in biomedical engineering and mechanical engineering. How has the rollout been going for those programs?
I think it's been going quite well. Yeah, we estimated we'd start with 2 students, and we have 12.
Wow.
It's a big program now. Hopefully, it will just experience large growth. It's doing very well, and something that's very unique about it is we have a majority female students in engineering. Most schools, it's about 30%. Here, about 60% of our engineering students are females.
Wow. Yeah. And how important do you think programs like this will be, for helping people worldwide gain more access to assistive devices?
I think that's, we actually involve our students in our research and everyday tasks, so we get the input from the students. We also involve community partners in helping us design the projects that we need, and we've geared our classes such that instead of just talking about theory, we also involve applications of designing these assistive materials, so it can be, with the use of social media, we can have a great impact.
So we are creating things and working with partners all over the world to actually make sure that the things that students learn and build in classes go somewhere instead of sitting in the closet. So I was just in a meeting yesterday with a group to figure out how to make orthotic hand braces to send to individuals in the Ukraine. There's a large need for it, and we've kind of rolled out a way to do it, and I can show you actually one such brace. I've got toys. I always have toys.
Absolutely.
So this we can 3D print, and this is just a brace. You can scale it to different sizes, and you actually 3D print it completely flat, and then you can just use a hairdryer and heat it up, and you can place it on somebody's arm and form it exactly to what they need. So this one has been roughly formed to me, so I can get a nice little brace for my carpal tunnel from typing up all this stuff I have to type. And we can just print out these in bulk, completely flat, cheap to ship because they're completely flat, and then they get to where they're needed and they can be formed right there in person. So that's just one example of a lot.
Yeah. And that was a great area to highlight as a hands-on experience students are getting here. What other examples of areas where they're able to actually work hands-on with some of this technology?
Sure. So I have a little demo, and it's quite small, but it says MU on here. So this is a bioprinted fluidic channel. It just has blue ink on it, but we can scale it a lot smaller or a lot bigger. My lab does a lot more basic science research, and we're looking into how do we improve therapies for muscular dystrophy and sarcopenia, which is what happens with muscle loss with aging. So my lab involves students doing hands-on lab work. We're hoping to present our data in conferences and publications. So basically having an impact in improving our knowledge and for potentially coming up with new therapies. And these are undergraduate students who will have a full hands-on experience doing these things.
So I'll stop asking questions now because this is our second year doing this stream, and this was one of the highlights of last year. What else did you bring to show us?
Lots of toys. Dr. Iyer works with the muscles on the inside, so at a small cellular level, cellular muscle tissue engineering. And then I work, so you're kind of micro scale?
Yes.
And I'm kind of more on the macro scale, so I don't go in the body because that confuses me. I stay outside of the body, and I build things that'll help augment somebody and improve their strength. So one example,
We like to joke that Dr. Bubar makes Iron Man, and I'm the one who does the Wolverine stuff. And the students are the ones who know more than we do.
Yeah, they're the ones that are really trained. So what we have here is this is actually an exoskeleton arm. So this is very much like what Iron Man would use. And what you can do is you can put it on somebody. Doesn't fit me, but you can attach this to somebody, and the motor can provide some support. So you can use these in rehab applications for somebody that needs to exercise and needs to get some therapeutics and maybe needs to do some arm curls, but their muscles aren't quite strong enough to do that. You can augment it with something like this, and the motor will help support them, and then we can control it with just a little knob. So you can help control them and move them around. So if I attach this to Dr. Iyer, I can control her arm. I won't do that. Okay. And then we do other things too, not just this little robot. We've got, you ever been to Disney World?
I have, yes.
I love Disney World. So we want to teach robotics, but we want to kind of make it fun and interesting, so we can make little robotics. So if you can see here, is that appearing on the camera? We've got a little robotic eyeballs. So it's basically like an animatronic, and we can make it blink, and we can make the eyeballs move around with the video game controller, joystick. So just fun little robotics things, and this is something that the students can build. This is all 3D printed and just a couple of motors. And then you can take that and you can integrate it into some of the prosthetics that we make. Things like hands and arms. So we've got this giant Hulk hand. Why don't you try it on for us?
All right.
And you can show everybody how it works. So slide your hand in there, grab that bar. See, you've never done this before, right?
No.
So we'll see how intuitive this is. You
Okay.
just strap it to your arm, and when you bend your wrist, you can make the hand close.
Oh.
So this is a basic body-powered prosthetic, and we can give this to anybody that needs a prosthetic hand if they don't have fingers. Their palm can push and close this, and we can theme it after whatever we want. So this is the Hulk. I just showed this at a big conference this weekend, and they were all like, "You should have made it gold and put in little infinity stones." So next we'll build Thanos' gauntlet, and we provide these to kids because kids, they have this horrible habit of growing. So when they grow, they outgrow a prosthetic, and prosthetic companies won't pay for that. So what we can do is we can print them a hand, we can theme it after whatever superhero they like, and then when they outgrow it, we just print them a new hand. When they decide, I don't like Batman anymore, I like Superman now, we just make them a Superman hand. So we can theme it after anything. We've done Frozen themes, we've done Iron Man, Spider-Man, whatever kids want. We can do it as a hand, and we can also do it as an arm.
I wasn't thinking superheroes as much. I was a soccer goalkeeper. I was like, could I actually catch a ball? Like with the.
Yeah. So let's do that. Let's do some.
I don't want to break this,
Let's
but
do some augmented hands.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that we really encourage people to do, that we make devices for. We encourage them to break them. Because we want people to use this, and we want them to use it how they want to. And if it breaks, that tells us, engineering-wise, we need to fix this. And tells us, okay, let's think about how we can fix these things. So that's the Hulk. And then we don't just do hands. I joke that I'm also an arms dealer. So we have full-on arms as well. So this is the newest arm design. This is it has a socket. So this is for somebody that actually doesn't have a hand.
are we putting it on? Or
And it's so we can't put it
sorry.
on. We'd need to take a saw to your arm.
No, that,
We don't want
I
to
just
do
wasn't
that.
sure if you were.
Yeah. So we can't quite, but you can if you push that up. You can see the fingers will close and open. So instead of using your wrist, you use your arm, and you can put in some nice padding. This is actually a design that's called parametric, which is very useful in engineering. Your design is such that you can change measurements. So I can type in whatever measurements I want. This arm was actually designed by a guy that's about 6'4", based on his arm. So what I did is I took his arm measurements, and this is actually my arm. So it's scaled exactly to my size. So if I get hit by a car on my bike rides home, then need a new arm, I can just make it for myself right here. And we can make it bionic. Other fun things we've started to go into. We're exploring how we can do legs. So we have a prosthetic leg, and if you squeeze that top thing, you can see that's squishy plastic. So instead of hard Lego brick like this, it's very squishy. And what we find we can do for legs, we can't so much do, you can see there's that metal pipe still in there. We don't try to recreate that because that's got to be load bearing and needs to be pretty strong. But what we can do is print these little plates. So speaking with people in developing countries, they've said they'll go for a job interview and they'll be wearing their nice slacks, but the slacks kind of, the fabric will move, and the person doing the interview can tell the person has a prosthetic leg. They can tell they just have a metal pipe. So they'll tell them, you're broken, you can't work here. There's a big stigma for people that have prosthetics. So what we do is you can print a little brace and print these little attachment plates, and then that fills out the pant leg so you can't tell that there's just a pipe there, and then they're not stigmatized. So we kind of help them to hide that they have a prosthetic leg, because in some countries you kind of need to do that. And then the countries that they don't need to do that, we can just make it look cool. We can put in cool designs and we can paint it, do whatever we want. Some of our partners work with very skilled tattoo artists, and they will do airbrushing and painting of the prosthetic leg covers to make them look just insanely cool. Other insanely cool things we do. I like this one. I am partial to Star Wars. So we do full-on cosplay helmets. So this is the Mandalorian's helmet. We 3D printed this in the lab. This is all 3D printed, except for the little shield. And this does serve a nice purpose. First, it gets students interested because they're excited to build things. But it's not just for fun. It helps us with figuring out fitting. Cosplay and that kind of culture helps us to figure out how to make arms and hands that fit well, that are comfortable, and that will last for a while. Because the cosplay people need it to do that, and so do the people that are going to use this kind of technology for their limbs.
Is that expensive right now to 3D print something like that, or is it?
That's a great question. So all the filament for this was probably about $10, and then the paint was probably about $10. And the sanding was probably about 40 hours. So $20 and a whole lot of time. And you got yourself a Mandalorian helmet. Look for me on Halloween. Maybe I'll print the whole thing. And then the other fun thing I like is we're looking into how to help not just kids, and if anything is cuter than a kid, it's a dog. So this is actually a dog wheelchair. So for a dog that is missing its hind legs or its front legs, this is actually convertible. We can make a wheelchair for them. Oftentimes they're very expensive to get from a vet because they're customized, and there's not a large market for them, so that brings the expense up. And what we can do is we can customize it, 3D print a couple of brackets, put in some fabric, some felt to support the animal and make them comfortable. And then these are just skateboard bearings and very large skateboard wheels. Combine all that together and we have a dog wheelchair for maybe $10. And we can give that to any animal that needs it. So that's a couple of the fun toys. And then I don't know if this will show up on the camera, but on the computer screen, you can actually see, and maybe in the reflection, can you see in the reflection? You can see yourself. So if you want to wave, you can see the computer is tracking him. So we're using this for all sorts of fun gesture detection and for rehab engineering at home. And this isn't a special camera, this is just a webcam. And we're using machine learning and artificial intelligence to recognize these points on the cameraman's body. So it can find all of these. If he holds up his hand, if you hold your hand out, you can see it can track all of his individual fingers moving. If he brought his leg into the frame, it would track his leg. That's tricky to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's all automatic tracking. We don't have to, we can program it in. It's not a special webcam, it's just a standard webcam. And we can actually do this on a cell phone too. So we can put in apps on cell phones. And our application for this right now is to use it as a monitoring system for aging populations that are trying to do exercising at home. And you want to make sure that it's safe. And what we can do is program this with some algorithms that'll detect if they're exercising too hard and they might be in danger of falling over, and can warn them. And we're going to couple that with virtual reality. We have a full virtual reality studio on campus, actually 2 of them, and we can design virtual reality games that encourage aging populations to kind of exercise and get some motion and some movement. And there are all sorts of useful outcomes for their health if they do that. But the problem is, it's kind of boring, right? If you go to the doctor and they tell you, okay, you got to curl a can of soup and you have to do this 20 times. That's boring. Nobody wants to do that. So we'll put them in a VR headset, and then instead of curling a can of soup, maybe they are the Incredible Hulk and they're fighting somebody. Maybe they are a bird flying around throughout the entire globe in all the places that they wish they could have gone. And we can simulate that by having them do these exercises. And then we can watch them through the VR camera and make sure that they're not going to injure themselves. So it's kind of a full package for at-home rehabilitation.
We keep coming back to superheroes, it sounds like.
Superheroes. It's like I'm obsessed. And Star Wars, if you see the pin, this is the Rebel pin from Star Wars. I'm just a child. So that's what we do in our, I think we play.
Yes,
right?
we have tons of fun.
That's what engineers do.
So just last question then, it is Day of Giving. What type of fundraising do you have planned for some of these programs?
Lots of fun stuff.
I think one of it is we are a new program, so we're looking for new equipment. In that sense, we are looking for funds for some of the equipment. We are trying our best to have the students create some of these equipment too, but there are some where we need some supplies for it.
Yeah, so engineering, we want to test the stuff that we're using. We want to test these things to make sure that they're safe for people to use. And to do that, we need well-calibrated equipment so we can crush things and stretch things and find out when they break so that we can push our designs further and improve that. And that equipment costs money. So we need that kind of support. We need support for the materials that we're buying to build these projects. Support to then send it overseas, maybe support to start sending some students overseas to observe places in actuality and start brainstorming and figuring out what solutions can we come up to the problems that they are facing. We have a professor, Dr. Usha Rajdev. She's doing a lot of work in Uganda to help improve their schools, their STEM programs. And she was telling me the other day about one of the schools that she visits. They actually still have to use a well, and the kids are carrying water on their backs and climbing ladders to pour it into water towers to just get water flowing inside the school. So what can our engineering students do that will help to improve that? It's basic technologies, basic engineering, basic machines. Our students have that knowledge. So let's take them over there and figure out how we can improve their lives. And we can do that all over the world. We just need some support to do that.
Well, Dr. Bubar and Dr. Iyer, thank you so much for showing us some of these, and it's great to hear that students are in classes now and the engineering program is officially underway.
Off to a great start. And thank you very much for having us.
Thank you.